Mr. Chair, I'd move to approve consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $169,924.78. Checks written for payroll liabilities for November 16, 2012, November 30, 2012, in the amount of $333,965.51, for a total of $503,890.29.
And I'll second that motion. Any questions on the bills?
Just one on my side, Mr. Chair, and it's not really a question so much as just checking on solid waste for Mr. Urbicite there. Every time I see that amount in there, I think we're, what, 60,000? Yeah. Page 3 of 10, third from the bottom.
That's pretty normal. Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Councilman Heiser, we're on track for $800,000. We're doing everything we can to recycle, to try to keep that down. Interestingly enough, just before coming into this meeting, Stephen and I were having a discussion about financial issues, and you can't help but notice, our utility bills, an average, even just a small utility bill like my own, where 2,000 gallons of water in a month, it's minimal, is $70. Our utility bills are pretty steep, and the large driver on that is sanitation. And what's interesting, I get some documentation in a form of a magazine that comes out on a regular basis, and just last week I was looking at, and Wyoming is one of the highest in the country. And it is driven by regulation and well-intentioned regulations and state statutes. But when the state legislature required that the districts conduct a integrated solid waste management plan and fund, appropriately so, their closure and post-closure costs, it required the districts then to start setting that money aside, and it is a huge cost. Now, the good news is if the district's setting that money aside, when they get ready to close the various landfills, they'll have the money and they can do it. But the reality is that we're paying an awful lot. And you look at surrounding states, and you look at even surrounding communities, they're paying not nearly as much as we do in solid waste disposal, which is counterintuitive in Wyoming when you think of there's all these acres of empty ground that we could just go dig a hole and bury this stuff. But it has become extremely costly, and I continue to look forward to hoping that maybe some point in time the tribes that step forward with looking at solid waste as potentially a revenue generator for them, and recycling and solid waste disposal, because with their vast acreage of land and proximity to Riverton, it's possible that they could provide that service for less and still make money at it. So we hope, but it's pricey, and it makes everybody's utility bills pricey because of that. And the only thing I could say is that we continue to explore and work and try to develop more recycling opportunities, so we're not writing that check to the solid waste district. But if you're writing it for recycling, at some point in time, are you really gaining ground?
Right.
That's the question you guys have put before me, and right now I have to stand up in front of you and say, it's a little hard to say recycling's really paying off. You got to hit that critical mass, and we're not quite there. Maybe we are getting close. It was interesting the last time I looked at the numbers of how much we are diverting, and it's a lot, but still got to do more.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and I have no further questions. So all those in favor of the approval of claims say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Is there any other business today, Mr. Weaver?
No other business. Thank you.
All right, meeting adjourned.
December 4th, 2012 regular meeting of the Riverton City Council to order at 6:30 p.m. Would Councilman Heiser lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, would the city clerk please conduct the roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilwoman Diana Mahoney.
Here.
Councilman Rich Guard.
Here.
Councilman John Lars Baker.
Here.
Councilman Todd Smith.
Here.
Councilwoman Mary Ellen Christensen.
Present.
Councilman Eric Kaiser.
Here.
Mayor Ron Warbness.
I'm present as well. I now declare that a quorum is present. We have all of our council here, so we don't need to worry about excusing anyone this evening. That's good. The chair would entertain a motion to convene into executive session for the purpose of potential litigation, considering litigation to which our governing body is or may be a party in accordance with Wyoming Statute 16-4-405A-III.
Your Honor, I move that we convene into executive session.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay. Action item from the executive session. The chair would entertain a motion to regarding the claimant against the city. Is there a motion?
Your Honor, just a point of order, I don't think we have to take action. I think
Okay.
that was the direction we had coming out, so.
Okay. All right, we'll pass on that issue then. Okay, agenda item number 5, approval of the agenda. The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Your Honor, I move that we approve the agenda as printed. Seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. At this time, we have communication from the floor, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is already on the agenda will be given an opportunity to speak later on. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record. If you could speak into the microphone so those at home watching the television can hear you and the tape recorder can pick you up.
With all those instructions, I can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong. Now just
I'm Mike McDonald. I live at 1220 North Broadway. I'm here to offer a suggestion this evening. As most of you may or may not know, I live on the new street between Webwood Road and Teeter Park. The street, the paving has been finished and it's open to traffic and people are using it. I have a concern with Teeter Park, particularly in the spring and summertime with the amount of children that are on the park. They have t-ball there. There are multi-family picnics. The street narrows down just at the beginning of Teeter Park on the north end or on the south end of my property. I estimate traffic going through there between 30 and 40 miles an hour. I suggest a speed bump. The reason is that I feel that that's the only way you're going to slow them down coming from the north. I've had a little conversation with Mr. Urberkite about that, and he's not so inclined, and that's okay. But if you look at all our grade schools, all the kids are behind a fence, including St. Margaret's. And I'm not suggesting that we put a fence up in Teeter Park along the street, but I personally do not feel that speed limit signs and the, I guess, solar-powered electric sign that the city has that you move around is going to slow the traffic enough. And I just don't want to see a small child run out among the cars that are parked there. It's really narrow when you get two sets of cars parked on that street. Coming from the south, there's a valley pan there at the corner of Elk Street and Broadway, so that slows people down that way. But anyway, I just simply suggest that you all, if you haven't, drive that street and go by and see what you think. And again, as I say, it's just a suggestion. And that's all I have. Any questions? Thank you kindly.
Thank you, Mike. I'd just like to comment that when we start rebuilding North Federal Way, there's going to be a lot more traffic through there as well, so. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council?
I'm Reggie Doc. I'm probably not so much the council here. Anyway, this will save me making a call in the morning. Every time
Reggie, can you speak into the microphone, please? There you go. Thank you.
we was walking here this evening up down 9th Street and Park, and earlier we noticed there that someone had run into and knocked a stop sign down. I don't know if you're aware of that yet or not, but anyway, well, come up here, we'll try to say something, and it'll get to the right department somehow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reggie. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak? Wow, those are pretty dresses.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Cara Merchant. I'm your Limis Riverton 2013 from the Limis, Wyoming Scholarship Program, and this is my little sister Peyton Westmoreland, taught Miss Riverton 2013. Say hi, Peyton. Hi. We are here this evening to ask permission and cooperation in promoting recycling in our county, part of qualifying for state, and also part of our score is community service. What we would like to do is go door to door and let people know why they should recycle and how easy and accommodating the city is in recycling. We will mention the curbside pickup, dropping areas, what can be recycled. Leave a box of examples. And how to sort and drop off recyclables properly with help from our mom, Angela Westmoreland. All we ask from you is our permission and some handouts. We can leave with the people. We believe this will encourage recycling in our community. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was a lot of reading, and you did a beautiful job. Thank you. Did you put them up to this, Mr. Urbichite? I mean, you're the recycling king here, and I just was wondering.
But you're on.
Handouts for them.
Wonderful. Okay.
I work for the sanitation, streets and alleys, and they already have handouts and stuff. We just wanted your permission and cooperation.
Okay. Well, certainly you haven't. We're very supportive of anything we can do to recycle. So thank you for coming this evening. Thank you again. Is there anyone else wishing to address the council at this time? Okay. I'd just like to note that Councilman Mahoney indicated that she wasn't feeling well, and so she took a leave of absence and whatnot, so hope she's feeling better. But agenda item number 7 is our recreation update. Mary Axhelm, Brianna Winter, and Sherry Shelley. You're on.
Thank you guys for having us tonight. We did this last year, and in the spirit of Thanksgiving, and now in the spirit of Christmas, we just wanted to come and personally thank you for your support this past year for our recreation programs and everything that you have provided us in order to return that to our community. 2012 has been a very busy year for us, and we mark our numbers on a fiscal year, which you guys have there, a 5-year history, and you'll see our fiscal year numbers for this year. But it was a really busy year. We had both an increase in the number of programs that we offered and an increase in the number of participants that we saw. Each year we continue to grow, and we're really grateful for our partnership with you guys, with the City of Riverton, with the school district, and with the Central Wyoming College. It's a really unique partnership. You won't find another one like it in the state of Wyoming, and it works well, and we're really grateful. In a way of summary, we just wanted to share quickly a few highlights of our year. Our recreation served a total of just over 5,500 participants, which is an increase. We've seen an increase every year. And that was through 98 different programs. Of course, our goal for 2013 is to have over 100 programs, so we're pretty close. This summer, we hosted a really unique program. It's our Summer Academy program. It's a 3-week program in June, and it's for kids mainly 3rd grade through 8th grade, but we do have some things for kindergarten through 2nd. And in that 3 weeks, we offer 159 different classes and had 1,100 participants come through just in those 3 weeks. We use 25 different instructors. Several of them are Riverton School District instructors, Central Wyoming College instructors, and then we had 14 high school and college-aged staff, and so that was really neat. We just wanted to give you those numbers so you can see how inclusive our program is to reaching people in the community, not just in participation, but also in the opportunity to employ them and offer them some means there. 2 state-level competitions that our recreation hosted this year. We had the opportunity to host the Major League Baseball pitch, hit, and run competition in June. And then we also had the NFL pump, pass, and kick competition for the state in October, and that was really neat. We actually kept track of where people came from for that, and we had 79 participants that came from all over Wyoming, which shocked me. And I think of the 79, 5 were local, so we had 74 that came from other communities. As far as Sundance, I think Sundance was our farthest person that they traveled for a 5-minute opportunity to showcase their football skills. But and of those 79 participants, 19 different Wyoming communities were represented, and so it's just neat to see these families come to Riverton for one day. They drive in, go have lunch, compete, grab gas, get some snacks, whatever, and head back to their communities. And so it's just neat to see that come in as a part of our community development. Our community garden is a huge project, and I'm going to turn that over to Sherry. It saw some significant changes in 2012. Sherry has worked tirelessly at the garden, and it's a really unique and neat collaboration between CWC, the City of Riverton, and all of the people in our community. So with that, thank you guys very much for your continued support, and I'll let Sherry summarize with the garden.
So most of you know that the community garden is a partnership between CWC and the City of Riverton. It started 4 years ago, where we just completed our 4th season right now. Started with 22 plots, and we're now up to 90 plots. When we moved the garden, this last season was our first season in our new location, which was necessitated by our new building project on campus. There's now a road through the old garden and a parking lot. But the new one is just west of Brunton, for those of you who don't know where the garden is, and right near the entrance to CWC from the highway. It grew from the 22 plots it started at 4 years ago to 90 plots now, meaning that we are serving about 76 different families with the opportunity to garden with incredibly good sunshine, great land, an automatic watering system which applies water on people don't have to go drag hoses around to keep their plots watered. The water comes on regularly, so if they take a vacation, it doesn't dry up and die for them. It's a really, when we moved it, we took the opportunity to redesign some things to make it more efficient than the original garden was. We have a wonderful tool shed that was funded through a grant from the Recreation District funds, and it's just been a great project for a number of people. My youngest gardener is probably your son, Todd. How old is Teddy?
Teddy's 12.
12, okay. So the youngest one is 12. Our oldest gardener lives over at Owl Creek, and she is 88. So we've got a big range of ages. We have whole families. We have a group of people from CES who come and garden with their plot. Individual people, just a wonderful range of community members that are being served by the community garden. It is incidentally the largest community garden in the state, which is kind of cool. And trying to think of other things I was going to talk to you about, but that pretty well summarizes it. It's a great project in the sense that people are growing their own food. They're growing things to give away to friends and neighbors. We're seeing a little of it come into the local farmers market system, and it's just been a really good project in many, many ways, and I appreciate so much the chance to manage it. It's really one of the parts of my position I enjoy the most, and it's just been really beneficial. So thank you very much for making that happen and work for us. What the city does, I'm backing up here a bit, but your contribution comes in the form of compost and shredded bark from your recycling waste program. I call Greg every spring and tell him how many dump trucks, and we're really talking literally dump trucks after dump trucks of materials that they brought us this last year when we reestablished the new garden. It'll be less in the future, of course, going forward. All the paths are barked so that they're not muddy between the different little plots. And so we put that bark down. That labor has been provided by the Honor Farm crew, the Set Free Church folks, and it's just always amazing to me when I need something for the community garden. I kind of put the word out, and people just step up and help make those things happen. And we've had tools donated, hoses, all kinds of components and parts that make it a really successful project. We also put up a deer fence this year. That was our biggest new addition. Once we got the garden moved, we put in fencing to keep the migrating deer herd that goes from down below Riverview up to on the other side of the campus every single day from lunching heavily as they came and went. And that's been a big help, honestly. We were losing a fair amount of garden produce in the third year to the deer, but we actually still enjoy seeing them go by. We just can't get in to eat now like they did. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but it's a wonderful project for the community, and we really are, I'm just so glad that you all see fit to be a part of that. Let's do that.
Great, thank you very much, Sherry.
Thank you.
I can just now know where all those zucchinis came from that Stephen and his family kept bringing around City Hall here to
Watermelon
get.
King. They grew the most beautiful watermelons in their plot.
Oh,
this year.
really?
Yeah.
Well, he didn't bring any of those to share. I might note that. But I'd also like to note that the tub grinder that, when I was on the council in 2000, was a large piece of equipment that we purchased, and I could remember taking all the tree limbs and everything out to the landfill. Now we're grinding them up, and it's great to hear that they're being used in the community that way, and it's just kind of interesting to see how things go around, come around, and that's wonderful.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I guess just a comment, and by the way, we'll be knocking my wife and I at Sherry's door when she starts to open up. You have to get in, like, right away. But we had a garden at our house, and this year just said, enough. It's much better to just do it at the community garden, so I'll be banging down her door. Please do. Please do. But I did want to note, I was on the council when this partnership started, and the city was really kind of having a rough time in getting recreation started and making it work. And not even in my wildest dreams could I have imagined the success that this program's had. I mean, from starting with 1,150 and moving to well over 5,000, well over 5,500 last year served is just a testament to the great work that they've done. And I still, to this day, believe we don't get a better bang for our buck than we do with recreation and the money that we spend on it. So just thanks to you guys for all that you do, and we appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you. On a personal note, Sherry, I would just like to compliment you on your campaign that you just had too. Even though it wasn't successful, I've been in a couple of those campaigns that I wasn't successful at all, and you just had an outstanding campaign. I just want to compliment you there, that you did a good job.
It was a great experience.
Yeah.
Wonderful opportunity.
Yeah.
I recommend it enough.
Thank you again. Yes. Certainly.
Make it a lot easier for Eric to get to. Let me know.
I'm up there every day anyway.
To be honest, I need 3 or 4. We need more than the one. The one is not as handy for people as it could be if it were more centrally located or if there were more neighborhood gardens. Yeah. Good project.
Okay. Thank you very much again for coming this evening. We appreciate it. Okay, agenda item number 8, catering permit application, Back Bar, December 29th, 2012, MMA competition at Fairgrounds, 3 p.m. to 12 a.m. City Clerk's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor, we received this application. I'm sorry, I'm looking to see. I assume it's been paid. Thank you. Usually I have the receipt attached. I'm sorry. So we've received the application and the fee has been paid.
Chair would entertain a motion regarding this catering permit application.
Your Honor, I'd make the motion to approve the catering permit.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye. Agenda item number 9, ordinance number 12-019, second reading, committee terms. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 12-019 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 12-019, second reading. An ordinance amending Title II, Administration and Personnel to revise chapters 2.44 Planning Commission, 2.48 Construction Board of Appeals, 2.52 Tree Board of the Riverton Municipal Code, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith and providing for an effective date.
Okay, the chair would entertain a motion regarding ordinance number 12-019.
Your Honor, I move that we pass ordinance number 12-019 on second reading.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Agenda item number 10, ordinance number 12-020, second reading, establishing the airport board. Would the city clerk please read ordinance number 12-020 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Proposed ordinance number 12-020 on second reading. An ordinance amending Title II of the Riverton Municipal Code of the City of Riverton, establishing an airport board, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict therewith, and providing for an effective date.
Okay, the chair would entertain a motion regarding ordinance number 12-020.
Your Honor, I'd move we pass ordinance 12-020 on second reading.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Agenda item number 11, SLIP program. City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor, I know everyone's excited to talk about this. I think all of us are, including Bill. The Sewer Lateral Protection Program, that's the abbreviation of what SLIP is. It was adopted by a resolution on June 5th, 2007. The program was set up to address a problem that the city was having with citizens having their sewers backing up and the city's insurance companies denying the claim based on the governmental immunity. This program allows the city to collect money from the citizens to pay for fixing the sewer lateral from the house to the main and to provide for cleanup of the backup. The program was set up with the best intentions to resolve a concern that citizens had. When you look at that resolution, when I looked through there was a couple areas that I felt were a little unclear or kind of gray, and that had to do with what is the actual cleanup? What is entailed in the actual cleanup of when we have a backup in the sewer? And I proposed this question to our city attorney, and he made the following comments on an email dated April 10th, 2012. With regards to the SLIP program, there are issues of extended liability. You had pointed out paragraph 2 that says we will clean up any sanitary flooding no matter what the cause. That could be construed that even if a property owner intentionally clogged the sewer, we'd have to clean it up. This paragraph is somewhat tempered by paragraph 12 that says that we do not replace the damaged personal or real property, and paragraph 11, which seems to contradict paragraph 2. My issue is, what does cleanup mean? Does it mean vacuum the water and wastewater from the carpet, or does it mean replace the carpet and any damaged drywall? While we would not have to replace a damaged TV, the extent of the cleanup is not clear to me. Paragraph 13 does address that if we replace a sewer, that we are not responsible for any damage to real or personal property that may be damaged in the course. Finally, paragraph 15 is clear that we can eliminate the program, disperse only the remaining funds, if any. On April 10th, 2012, the council discussed the SLIP program and asked the staff to come back in the fall with some additional information. As we go through, there's a spreadsheet attached to your packet that talks about, since the inception of the program, what the revenues have been and what the expenditures have been. In the past 4 years, the program has been in the red. The city currently has 1,223 accounts on the SLIP program out of 4,883 accounts. It's clear to me that the program that we have right now is not solvent in the current state. I understand the reason why this program was set up, and frankly, it's a great deal for the citizens. I've signed up for it myself. I think anybody would be crazy not to sign up for it because of what it provides. However, when it comes to the point that other citizens are subsidizing this program, something needs to be changed. The other concern is that if the city should be even involved in private laterals, and we've talked about that in the past. Is that a city function that we should be involved in? My biggest concern is when you talk about cleaning up of properties or cleaning up backup in the sewer and basements and those type of things, how much liability are we accepting? Are we accepting more than we need to? In the fact of if someone were to get sick off that and we accepted liability for cleaning up, or are we setting us up for more additional liability? So this is kind of how the process works if someone wants to sign up for the SLIP program. They come in, they pay a $25 activation fee, and then it goes on their bill, and every month they get billed $3.36. And they can't terminate once they sign up for this program. It's on their utility account until they either sell or move on. The following is how the program actually functions on the ground. If they have a sewer problem and it backs up into their house, the city calls a contractor and they come and they clean it up. And it's basically they go in and they suck out the bad water, they clean the carpets. They don't replace any sort of drywall or any sort of equipment because it states that in the resolution. And then to deal with the pipe issue, if the homeowner has proven to the city that they do have a collapsed pipe, they have to put a camera down there, then the city comes in and will fix that lateral. In most cases, for the older parts of town, it's the old Orangeburg pipe, which is old and it's collapsed. And in most cases, we end up replacing the whole line all the way from the main all the way up to their house. Some of the problems that we've dealt with recently is about restoration. You know, when we've had to tear up a front yard, how much are we going to put it back? We've had some damage to sprinkler systems, and then they said, you know, you've damaged this, you've got to pay for it. We've had an issue where we've reseeded a lawn, it died, and they said we need to come back and reseed it again. One of the other issues relates to the 30-day waiting period. So once you sign up for the program, it states that you have to be on the program for at least 30 days before you can initiate a claim. In the past 2 weeks, in talking to our utility billing, we've had a lot of phone calls from people saying, hey, we've had problems with our sewer. We'd like to try to sign up for the SLIP program. It's meant to be where you're signing up after the fact, not we've got a problem now and sign up for it. And I think some people are waiting the 30 days out and waiting it out, and then we have to come and fix those. So since the program's not in the black, I think there's two options that I've come up with. The first one is abandon the program and sign up for the National League of Cities warranty program, and that's information attached to you. This is a similar program. The average cost in Wyoming for the cities that are currently participating in it is $6 a month. They do not provide cleanup inside of the house. It's strictly a lateral protection program. All they focus on is the actual lateral. They'll come in and fix the lateral, or if it needs to be replaced, they do that. They provide up to $4,000 per occurrence. So if it goes over that, then that's up to the homeowner. And they provide basic restoration for landscaping. And the current cities that are doing it right now are Casper, Cody, Green River, and Douglas. And they said there's several others that have started the process. They just haven't adopted the resolutions. The other option is to modify the program. And first and foremost is the cost. I think if we're going to have a program, it needs to be solvent, it needs to be paying for itself, and it needs to be in the black. And what we have to do is adopt a new resolution and make sure that, and state what the city will pay for and what we won't, and make a clear determination of what the program actually entails. I've also attached a list in your packet from Dawn Wilhelm. She gave some additional suggestions she would like to see if we were to modify the program. We could look at per occurrence amounts. It is the opinion of our insurance company and the past practice of the city that even when the mains back up and floods individual property owners, that we do not accept responsibility. And since we have a maintenance schedule and there's no way to prove that the city did something wrong in those main lines, that's how they stand in back of, because this is everybody's dumping their sewer into the main line. It's not the city out there dumping the stuff in the sewer lines. If someone decides to come and dump 6 gallons of turkey oil after their turkey dinner down their drain and it gets in there and causes the main to back up, that's not the fault of the city. And so my little statement in here, a couple sentences, is Bill pointed out to me is not exactly correct in the fact that I was stating that I felt like it was the city's responsibility if a main line backs up, but that is not the case. So to modify the program and make it solvent, it'd be very difficult against our current resolution how we have it, because we'd have to adopt a new resolution. Therefore, we'd change the program, and I think by so doing, you would make that program have to go away. Otherwise, people would say, if you're modifying it significantly or going against what the resolution said, I should have an opportunity to get out of that program. Because I'm estimating, based on the numbers of 2012, which was last year's number, that we'd have to raise it about $2.50 to break even, and that was at 2012 numbers, when in fact this year, 6 months into the year, we're already at $31,803, so we're only $5,000 short of what we were last year. And so that number would probably even have to be more than that. And in the resolution, it states that you can't raise the fees in one fiscal year any more than 5%. Well, 5% of $3.36 is 16 cents. That's not a lot to get it up so it can be a viable program. And so one item that's not included in your costs is staff time. We have one particular individual on our staff that is basically our go-to person for slip claims. And in talking with him, he estimated that he spends about 50% of his time dealing with slip-related issues. So that you can tack on another $32,000 every year on top of the costs in there, if you want to see a true picture of what the program is costing the city. I guess it's my recommendation is to terminate the program and sign up for the NLC, or to terminate the program and develop a new program that would be solvent, and then have people sign up under that new program. So that would be my recommendations.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Weaver. Appreciate that. That was a good background of where we are, and I appreciate that. The chair would entertain a motion regarding the SLIP program at this time so that we can get into discussion.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I would move that we abandon the SLIP program as it's currently organized and get set up so that we can make use of the program offered through the NLC.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
just wondering if there's any cost to the city staff for this NLC. Is there any administrative?
Your Honor, we don't really have, the only thing they ask us for is to use our city seal or to give an endorsement to these companies, so when they do the mailings to the private citizens, that they don't think it's some bogus program that they're going to be signing up for, because they structure it similarly that they would be using local contractors to come and do these works just like we do.
Thank you.
I contacted NLC this afternoon and talked to a lady there, Cynthia Cusick, program administrator. And there was one part in here, it says, furthermore, USP will pay the city a royalty for every resident that participates in the program. And nowhere in the literature does it say how much that is or what they're talking about there. And so I was kind of curious about that. Not that we're interested in using this as a fundraiser or anything like that, but if there's some way that we can get a little bit of a discount and pass that on to our citizens, I think that would be appropriate for us to consider. And she said that it's usually about 10%, and that's something that can be negotiated with USP. Now, they're the providers of the service through the National League of Cities, and I asked if it would be possible for an individual citizen to just sign up for the program outside of our sponsoring it, and she says no, that it requires the city sponsorship in order to have our citizens sign on to the program and whatnot. So I guess without belaboring the point, I think that the SLIP program historically, you know, the intent was very good, and I think it's provided a lot of good to our citizens over the years. But given the point that it's at now, being fiscally out of whack and seeming to get worse, and having constraints within the ordinance itself that limits the amount that we can raise it, I don't see an alternative, you know, but to do it, but to abandon the program. But I do think that the intent was good, and I know it's provided a lot of good service to a lot of people, but you know, for other citizens to be subsidizing something like that, I just think is going the wrong way. So I think without probably belaboring the point, why, is there anyone else who would like to comment on?
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman Gard.
I was approached by an elderly gentleman in our community that's been on the city council and aware of the costs. He has had both neighbors on both sides use the SLIP fund to replace their lines, and he felt somewhat disenfranchised over the fact that we would drop that. Does the National League of Cities require a certain number of population? They're gonna pick us up with one house, or do they require any number of percentage of our utilities to sign on, or is it a given that they'll accept Riverton?
Your Honor, yeah, when I discussed with them, there was no, you know, threshold that we had to meet in order for them to do it. They're looking at all size communities.
And realistically, if we abandoned our current SLIP and reconstruct it, your suggestion already has us right at $6, and we keep all of the problems in-house. And so my suggestion is that we do accept the National League of Citizens service and help get the citizens that we have now. It is going to be close to a doubling of the cost. But still, his point was that he would be more than glad to double that cost to still have that protection. The only thing that I see different is there is no interior assistance inside the house. Is that correct from this program?
That's right, Your Honor.
And then only up to $4,000, and anything above that, the homeowner would have to pay. And I think that those the people that sign up and the citizens of Riverton need to know those are parameters that aren't in their control, nor in the National League of Citizens control, the city's control. And so I think this is probably the better issue and the better way to do it. But I do think there are some citizens out there that feel a little bit disenfranchised over the fact that this program would be going away, and they haven't yet managed to plug their sewer sufficiently to get theirs replaced.
Any other discussion?
Your Honor, maybe there's, what about a transition period? Do we have how would that work? We would go to the folks that are doing this and say, okay, we want to set this up, and then there's a 30 days or 60 days or something to get that online. And until that happens, then we continue to function and maintain our service, or?
Your Honor, I think that would probably be the best option to do that.
We need
I
to
mean,
put that in the motion?
Yeah, to put that in the motion, because we'd have to have an effective date to terminate ours, and then hopefully they would have an opportunity to sign up for the NLC one at the same time, so there would be a seamless transition there.
Your Honor, I'd amend my motion then.
And as the seconder, I would agree to that.
To include an effective date for termination, such that we ensure that the other coverage is in place.
One, I guess, consideration or thought is that we've repaired a lot of sewer lines around town. Now those folks are paying their monthly bill based on that, and so that would all go away. If we were to abandon it and then come back and try to remodify it, I don't think that we could legally go in and tell those people that you were paying $336, now you're going to be paying $636, and they would tell us to go hunt. So I don't think that we could recoup those individuals if we decided to go that way. And so when we pull the pin on it, why, that's gone. The saving side of it is that we've solved a lot of sewer lines in town that were serious problems, and so we've upgraded our infrastructure across the town, which I think has a lot of value too. But
Your Honor,
is there any other? Yes.
is there an initiation fee into the National League of Cities? Is there any initiation fee, or we just sign up and we're 6 months and we're on the run, or $6?
Yeah, when I talked to the representative, he didn't mention any initiation fee. And the $6 is the average. They're obviously a private corporation that's trying to make a profit off of it. So they said the average for Wyoming is $6, and a lot of it depends on the system. If they have a lot of people on there that every time they're going in there, they have to replace the whole lateral line instead of just repairing it, that's obviously going to be a little bit more expense on them than just repairing.
And, you know, that's an interesting insight, Your Honor. If it turns out to be $9, and they have to make the program just like we were looking at, to make the program solid and continue to work, I think the citizens need to know that there's $6 isn't written in stone, and we're not backing that if we go to this program. And it's just going to go to what the market bears.
That's right. It's my understanding that there are several insurance-type organizations that do this kind of work as well. It's not just this USP. They're just, NLC is the organization, the National League of Cities, that has the in with municipalities across the United States. And so they're joining a partnership with them. And I asked what that relationship was, and this lady said that, well, and I can't believe that there isn't some kind of a financial relationship there. But what it is, I don't know. But she indicated that they had looked at several different organizations that do that kind of work, and they felt that the USP was the best quality to go with, and that's who they went with. So, but it would be something that would be out of our hands completely. It would be providing that service to the citizens, but we have no ownership or liability or anything on it, is my understanding.
Your Honor, you bring up a good point too, that this has been in service for what, 7 years?
Since 2007.
How many people do we think how many laterals have we replaced? Tons?
Lots.
And so we are going to lose, that's going to give them a slip right out of their $3 a month.
It's going to go away.
And I don't see any way to save that, but, you know, maybe maybe they see the benefit of still participating. I don't know. That would be on them. But that's the problem with socialism. It's hard to make it wrap around everyone.
Mr. Weaver and I have discussed this on a number of different times, and it seems like if we do go with NLC, then we're still going to be stuck between an insurance carrier that doesn't find us negligent in cases, and yet we still may have a main backup that we feel a certain obligation to try to fix, you know, or have some liability there. And it puts Mr. Urbicite and our staff in a difficult situation between these two rocks, and it would almost be better, I think, if we were to charge all of our citizens 25 cents a month, all of the connections, and that would generate about $1,000 a month is my understanding, and so 12,000 at the end of the year that we could use just to help clean up things that we feel a certain obligation. But I don't know if that's a possibility or not. I think Courtney looks at me kind of funny when I bring these things up. So, but you know, it really does. It makes it a difficult time when we've got citizens that are chewing on Bill, and he's got a letter in hand that says we're not negligent, and yet we know that we do have maybe a little bit of negligence or a little bit of ownership of the problem, but no way to smooth it over. And so anyway, it's that problem, I think, is going to continue on even if we do make this transition to NLC. So
Your Honor,
yes,
having been a person who lived in the country and was totally responsible for my sewage disposal, with a septic system, having replaced the tank, having to replace the drain field on 3 different occasions, I can tell you that living in the city of Riverton and being hooked onto a city sewer system is really nice. And, okay, and any risk that is associated with that can be completely eliminated with a backflow preventer put on the line at the side of the house. And I realize that for somebody, they have to get in there and dig a hole and get down to that point. And for a lot of people, that would mean that they would have to hire somebody to come and do that. But nonetheless, that would totally eliminate the possibility of a sewer system backup from the main. So there is a fix for that. And so someone that was really concerned about that could solve that problem for a lot less than it would cost to clean up their basement.
Councilman Bakerman is correct, and maybe what we ought to do is put a push on to educate the citizens of Riverton that that's available. It's at their expense, and if you have the only thing that only disappointment, having done a little of that work, is if you touch Orangeburg, where do you stop? And it's pretty hard to get the new flow preventer in place without replacing the entire line once you've touched it. And so, but with that said, it's on their time schedule. They can do it when they choose to. And maybe we make this, instead of assuming and waiting for the shoes to drop on us, that we could make some kind of public announcement or some kind of media push that there are areas of town that they would be well served by putting a backflow preventer in their own line before they have the problem occur, and that we are not going to accept the responsibility, and we have not, and we have the right to not do that. And then if they've heard that, then that kind of takes away the fact that let's go to the city and see if they can't fix our problems. And once again, Councilman Baker's right. They'd have to go out and contract with someone to get that backflow preventer in place. But it would really be smart, and it would be on their time schedule instead of pressed into emergency work. Thank you, Your Honor.
Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye. Resolution number 12. Resolution number 12. Agenda item number 12, resolution number 1264, 1% committee. Public Services Director's report, please.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as we all know, on November 6th, Fremont County approved an option 1-cent sales tax for bridges, water, sewer, infrastructure projects. That campaign was heavily predicated on that we would have a citizens advisory committee telling the city of Riverton what priorities for the use of that money would be. And so, on a return from my vacation, I was so jazzed that I just grabbed the mayor and first minute I saw it, I said, we need to talk about when that committee started. And part of the reason why I'm very interested in getting that committee started, and I included in your packet, is a Gantt chart that shows you the schedule. Now, I had additionally something. The tax, as we have found out, will actually be implemented initially the 1st of April. So there will not be any tax collection started until the 1st of April, and so we won't see tax revenue coming in until May or June. But we need to start planning and budgeting, because when you look at our construction schedule and our construction calendar versus our fiscal year, if we don't start planning on projects until the 1st of July, we will get nothing done in 2013. So my intent was that this committee would be formed, and the resolution calls for the committee to be appointed by the mayor with the advice and consent of the council, and I strongly suggest that you look at trying to appoint representatives from across the city in a geographic thought process, that maybe 2 people appointed from one ward, 2 from another ward, 2 from the 3rd ward, so that you have good representation across the city from interested citizens, potentially those that have helped work on the campaign as neighborhood team captains looking at the roads. But they start meeting in January and having a preliminary list of projects. At the same time, we would have somewhat of a mirror committee. I'm fashioning this after the effort that we did with the master plan, that there would be a technical advisory committee that would be made up of city staff, utility company representatives, YDOT representatives, and other people that could then advise the citizens committee about underground and technical issues regarding the surface treatments and what needs to be done on each road, so that the citizens committee could say, okay, we want to look at this road. Then we would get the technical advisory committee together and say, you know, there's a bad gas main in there, or we need to look at the power poles being moved, or do you want to widen it, or what do you want to do? Water, sewer, all of those considerations, what the traffic counts are. Come back again with a report back to the Citizens Advisory Committee saying, here's, you know, the skinny, you know, a much better opinion of probable cost of what each road segment that they've identified they want to work on. And then they could formalize that recommendation to you, so that we could then start moving forward as we go through a budget amendment process to put some money aside, so that if there is engineering that's required that we have to consult, you know, hire consultants to do, we could get that started and have it in place and ready, so that by the 1st of July of 2013 we could potentially be opening and awarding bids, so that we could get some construction done this year. Because if we wait to just start thinking about this until July 1st of 2013, we won't get anything done in 2013. And so that's why I'm excited about it. I think it's important to get it going. And you know, we certainly, you know, the mayor and Stephen and I believe all of you on the council certainly made that commitment that we wanted the citizens' input on what roads needed to be fixed first and what the priorities should be. And so we need to get this committee formed, and so that's what this resolution does, and look forward to getting a list of potential candidates. We've already had a couple people come in and express interest on serving on the committee, but getting that to you as a group and then having you select somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 to 11 members of the committee, a workable number, maybe, some of those geographically appointed by ward, and then some at-large members also, and getting going. I know the mayor's visited with some people who were interested, in even potentially a chairman, but we want to get it going. So we're excited about it and want to go fix some roads, but we got to know which ones. So with that.
Thank you, Bill. Would the city clerk please read resolution number 1264 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Resolution number 1264, a resolution establishing the Fix Our Roads Citizen Committee to advise the mayor and city council on the use of the optional 1% excise tax revenues.
Okay. Chair would entertain a motion regarding resolution number 1264.
Your Honor, I'd move we pass resolution number 1264.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
would it be
Councilman
possible
Gard.
to have a quick synopsis in the next few weeks from Bill or others that would maybe possibly look at some fast fixes that were not so costly, maybe chip seal, overlay, get down into the fur subdivision that feels like they're neglected and not seen, and maybe something that was not total replacement, but would be a quick chip seal to make some roads last longer, while we then pay attention to the major replacements instead of spending all of our money in 2 or 3 projects, possibly helping more people feel like the money was placed over.
Mr. Mayor and Councilman Gard, I think that we need to take that process through this committee, but I think that we need to have direction from you as the mayor and council, and we certainly will talk to them as staff about when the committee is formed, of establishing some criteria and priorities and things like that. One of the first questions that comes to my mind that I would, ask a committee that's established by the citizens is, do you want to say 25% of this revenue every year is going to go to chip seals? Let's say we're going to do that and start chunking that money out, because certainly chip seals, are much less expensive, and if the infrastructure is good, the underground utilities and all of that type of stuff, and the curb and gutter is in reasonable repair, and there's not big alligator cracking, the pavement hasn't failed completely, we can go get those and get a lot of mileage. So what I would refer to those is the low-hanging fruit, and certainly we'll talk, as staff supporting that committee, to look at the low-hanging fruit as we try to roll things out, particularly in the first year, because we'll have such a short window. In the second year, we'll have a full construction season to work on things. And so it would probably be almost my recommendation to him to not look at any complete reconstruction projects until in the second year, because you can see from, just take for example the Broadway project. It took us all year to build that street. And if you're going to completely reconstruct a street in a residential neighborhood or a collector street, which is all residential too, I mean, you pick Broadway, Sunset, Adams, one of those, it's going to take a year, to put that all together and rebuild any reasonable length of project. So, yeah, those surface treatment type chip seal, fog seal, slurry seal, low-hanging fruit ones would be things that we'd probably want to look at in year one, but still would want to take that through the committee and have them come back and make that recommendation to you.
Your Honor, my only problem with the committee, and you and I sat by each other in one last night, if we do a poor job of this is going to go away in 4 years. And I think instead of moving the responsibility off the council, I think we'd be wise to move the responsibility onto the council and do a good job in the first 4 years to accomplish this and make it work. And I'm not saying to not do it with citizen input. We needed that. But on the other side of that, I think we need expertise. So far, everything that I get is the road right in front of my house needs to be fixed. And I think that's a real problem. And I think if we get to listening to too much of that, then we don't serve ourselves well in the first 4 years. of trying to get as big a bang as we can and possibly holding the 1% tax. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Councilman Garden. I don't disagree that, you know, it's easy to say what's in my best interest and then go for that. And I think all of us have to see farther than that, you know, whether it's council or whether it's the citizens. But I know when Stephen and I were out talking to group after group after group, we were very clear and very succinct that the citizens would have a large seat at the table of what roads were fixed, and they would do that in cooperation with our citizen or our city engineer and planning department and technical, you know, and whatnot. So it's not just one or the other, but the citizens are the ones that voted for this and passed it in a very difficult time, I think, given the economics, and I think they're expecting to have a large seat at this table, and I certainly don't want to be doing anything to upset that at this point. One comment that I would like to make regarding the resolution, and it's not in the resolution at this time, but perhaps there can be a friendly amendment or an addition. But it says, now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the City of Riverton, Wyoming, that the City of Riverton will establish a Fix Our Roads Citizens Committee, FORCE, F-O-R-C-C, for the purpose of advising the mayor and council on priorities for the use of the revenues generated by the optional 1% excise tax revenues. And I would like to add, to provide fiscal oversight on these funds so that they feel like, so that the Citizens Advisory Committee, they don't have the authority to direct those funds, but they do have the authority to say, where's that money going? Okay, and how much was spent on this project? And I think without something in there regarding the fiscal side of it, that, you know, the case could be made that, well, you're just supposed to tell us which roads need to be fixed, but don't worry about the money. And I think it would be helpful to have a little bit of verbiage in there, however we wanted to do that, if the council feels comfortable with that. So,
Your Honor, I'm all right with it. I don't like the word oversight, though. That's not what a citizen committee does. The city council provides oversight. So if you're all right with fiscal guidance,
have no problem with that.
I'd be all right with that. I think oversight's a bit too strong of a word there. So
yeah. I just wanted to make sure that they understood that they have every right to have that information of where the money's going on every project.
As does any citizen, not just the citizens on the
Yes.
committee. I mean, we need to be, the books need to be open for this so that 4 years from now we can show that we did what we said we were going to do. So
that's right.
Mr. Mayor, if I could, I think that's a great suggestion, and I think that one of the things that when you guys get lists of people who are interested in this and you're looking at them, my picture is that, you know, we're on a monthly basis. Once we get the list made, they're not done. Mm-hmm. On a monthly basis, they're going to meet because we're going to be talking about the next project. You know, we do the first 5. And then once we knock off the first one, we got to have the next one in the pipeline. And that we need to be meeting with them monthly so that we can be updating them the status of the projects, you know, what the estimates are, then what the bids are, then what the percentage completion each month of the projects are, so that this becomes a continuous process. They're just not meeting once for a couple months and then they're done. Yeah. It's a commitment. And it's probably a 4-year commitment. Now, it'll be an annual appointment, but much like the terms that we have on the other committees, I think that anybody that's interested in this needs to know it's not just a one-shot. When my road's fixed in front of my house, I'm done. We'll be expecting them to continue to work, and in as much as that I think that, much like some of our other committees, one of the first items on the agenda for the committee will be to establish some basic operating rules that schedule when the meetings are going to be and what will be on the agendas, and set that out and lay that out for them so that they know that it's an ongoing process. It's not just one shot and we're done.
Your Honor.
Yes.
And that's kind of what I was trying to get to, is I most certainly think the citizens need to be 100% behind it. And I think that's where the success is if they feel like it's doing what they've asked for it to do. But my next fear is that we muddle it down to the point where we don't get anything fixed. And I think we really need to pay attention in the next 4 years hard and make it really work, so that and if that means it needs to have some oversight from the council on there, or we just need to make sure that we do a good job of this, or that's going to go away.
Yep, I agree. I would like to report as well that Mr. Weaver and I were talking with Commissioner Becker, and the commissioners have decided to have a citizens advisory committee as well for the county monies. So that was a step in the right direction, and I felt real good about that. So, okay, we're all on board with it. So, okay, we have a motion and a second regarding the resolution. Is there any other discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
did you want to add that amendment with the change in verbiage?
Well, I can't make motions, I think, so if.
Well, if you're all right with it, I'll make that amendment
Yes.
with the changing the word oversight to guidance.
Okay.
Do you need him to read through that again, or? Okay.
Do you need a second?
I do.
I'd second.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Then we'll have to vote on that was the amendment.
All right, that was, okay. Now the chair would entertain a motion on the resolution 1264 in its entirety.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion that we pass resolution number 1264 in its entirety.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Good. Agenda item number 13, catering permits, approval process discussion, city administrator's report.
Yes, Your Honor. November 20th, our last council meeting, Councilmember Christensen presented a future agenda item to see if the council was in support of changing the catering permit approval process from the council to administration. And the council agreed to move that forward. Attached to this staff report is a proposed draft ordinance. It's not the actual ordinance. We're not actually doing a first reading or a public hearing on that, but there's a draft ordinance attached, and you'll see the items that have been deleted and the ones that have been added. The added are the ones that are in italics, and I just wanted to read through those. It says catering permit. Applicants for catering permits shall complete and submit an application provided by the city clerk's office. Applications may be issued by the city administrator or his or her designee. And then this sentence, a catering permit may be granted or denied at the sole discretion of the city council is taken out. And then the next sentence that's added, if the permit is denied by the city administrator, the denial may be appealed by the applicant to the governing body whose determination is final. The city administrator may authorize scheduling council consideration of a new permit or an appeal by the next regular council meeting. And so those are the added language to the ordinance. And I think we cover our basis in the fact of if we have a permit that comes in that's kind of awkward or different or something that we don't feel as a staff that we can deal with, we can bump that to the council, and the council can make that decision. On the same aspect, if we denied a catering permit and the applicant felt like, you know, they were wrongfully done, then they can appeal that to the council at the next regular meeting. And so that gives the option for the council. And obviously in our process, a lot of this stuff is the same for us. You know, this really is a policy decision. It's really to expedite the process for the applicants applying for these catering permits, because we're still going to follow the same process that we normally do. We would like, in ways of having a little bit of guidance from the council about you know, I guess weird situations. For instance, we had one a couple months ago where in a residential zone, there was a catering permit in a residential zone that was going to go till 2 o'clock in the morning. And I think the council amended that and made it till midnight or 1 a.m. So if we had guidance of some sort from the council that we could provide to the applicants, because once it becomes administrative, it's more kind of black and white, and we don't really have the authority to be altering or modifying these applications that much. So giving a little bit of direction from the council would be great for those. Otherwise, more of them would be probably kicked back to the council. Also, in response to Councilman Smith's concern about that when we raised the catering permits back in February of last year, that we would have 1 year of oversight. That was added to the ordinance so that the effective date would not go into effect until that date. So that would give the year. And so basically what staff is looking for is direction if you want to proceed forward with drafting or having that ordinance come to our next meeting as a public hearing and a first reading.
Thank you. One question before we go on. When you read the italics, there's one part of a sentence in there that says, without public notice or hearing to any person holding a retail liquor license. Now, you left that out of that, and it's not in italics, and the sentence before it has been struck out.
Yeah, so Your Honor, it just goes on. So it says applications may be issued by the city administrator or his or her designee without public notice or hearing to any
Yes,
person
but you
holding.
didn't read that, and I was wondering which way it was.
Yeah, so it just continues on. That sentence is just deleted in the middle, or the
Yes.
fragment of the sentence.
So the first part that you read is in italics, the second part is not,
That's right.
and so I was just a little,
Well, Your Honor, just to clarify, I think the reason it is because that's currently in there.
It's
The non-italicized is what's
okay,
currently in
without,
there.
okay,
Yes.
okay. Okay.
And we sat down as staff, it was Councilmember Christensen, myself, and the chief, and Courtney, and kind of went through this and tried to address a lot of the concerns that were brought up at the last meeting.
Your Honor, are we in discussion?
Not yet, no. Let's go ahead. The chair would entertain a motion regarding the catering permit approval process.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to adopt the proposed ordinance number 12-021. Move that forward.
second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Your Honor, are we just looking for some general parameters that 99% of the catering permits fall in, and then if we got somebody that wanted to stay open until 2, we would have that parameter that you'd have to go in front of the council to get that? So if we just gave you some, and we have some caterers with us, could we get some feedback as to, even from the chief, his feelings if he sees any problems with this, and then we could set timing and make sure that it fits their general needs, and then that would give you a lot better information to approve and deny. And the only thing that I see is in a problem of in a denial, it would be their responsibility to get in early enough to hear no from city staff and still have time to bring it to a council vote. And so that could be a problem, and has been a problem in the past, that we get those catering permits done on a timely basis to make them work for the caterers. And so maybe someone, I don't know, can we take discussion from the floor?
I would think so.
Your Honor,
Would like to address that.
before we do that, I wasn't here last time around, so I'd kind of like to hear from the chief first before we go any further.
Your Honor, really, I thought long and hard about this. I feel like a year ago I came before you and asked you to really think hard about opening up these liquor permits and allowing liquor to even more easily be accessible throughout the community. And so from my personal perspective, I feel like I would be inconsistent to recommend this adopted change. I don't feel like it's too onerous on the business folks of our community to have liquor permits reviewed. I mean, they're asking to take an approved liquor permit from a location where they do business every day to another location and to do business there. And I just don't think it's that difficult of a task to ask them to have that reviewed by council. So my personal opinion from a public safety perspective is that I think that the city council oversight on these liquor permits is a good idea.
Is there
Your
anyone
Honor.
from the floor that would like to speak on the issue?
Randy Archer, and I think the parameters have been here forever, these permits. I mean, we know what we can and can't do for the most part that you guys accept. I think the only thing that makes it a little easier when we have somebody that comes to us with they want to do an event that we don't have time to come to the council, especially this year. We had one that you guys were at the WHAM convention, and then we have to ask you to come in for a special meeting. And I mean, it was a simple thing, but that's the way you have to do things. And it wasn't a problem at all. You just said, okay. But this would give you, I think we would like those parameters out there so we know. And if we come to you with something really weird once in a while, we understand, and we'd have to have plenty of time to get that to you. But it'd just be so much simpler and save you time, save us time if we could come to the administrator with our permit and he says, yeah, this is just pretty much boilerplate. So I don't see any problem with it. And it just make it easier. You guys wouldn't even have to look at it. And you could go on with your meetings and not take so much time when we come to you. And I just think it'd be easier all the way around.
Your Honor.
Yes.
So, Mr. Archer, are you comfortable then? Essentially, what you're saying is, it gives you the ability for people that maybe don't plan ahead. The problem that I see is the problem that Councilman Gard just pointed out. Are you comfortable then accepting staff's decision as final? Because if they deny it and there's not another meeting, you're out of luck.
Well, I don't think we're going to run into that problem.
Well, but it's certainly.
I mean, it's a possibility, sure, but I mean, if we want to do something way out there, but I personally don't want to do stuff way out there. And I can see where you could run into that problem, but then they ought to come to us soon enough. And we can tell somebody when they call us, you know, this doesn't fit into the box. Now we've got to start thinking outside the box. We got to have more time because it's got to go to council. I think that's true. I mean, that's the way it should work. But if it's going to St. Margaret's for the Reach Christmas party, and we come in and say we'd like to do this, we've done it. They've had it this many years, and the administrator can say, well, yeah, this has always went fine, and this is what you have to do, and we say we can do that, and we know what our parameters are and what we have to do. And you have to be insured. You have to do everything that we've done before, and so we can get it taken care of right away because sometimes people forget to get to us, and they don't get to us in time for us to come to the council. And I just think it'd be easier all the way around.
Okay.
So.
Yes, Rick.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I'm not real sure, and I'm trying to recall the state statute that authorizing catering permits, but my recollection is that the state statute provides that they have to be approved by the governing body. And it seems to me that this issue came up with another entity that I represented about a year ago where they talked about doing the same thing. And my recollection is it wasn't allowable by state statute because the statute was specific that those have to be approved by the governing body. So before you take action on this, I'd like to review the ordinance at least and then get back with the staff.
I think we heard the last meeting that I was to that several other cities do this. So if you're saying it's state statute, there's a pretty good chance that each city can do what they want. But I don't have any problem waiting. We got to wait anyway. I think that's a good idea to look into that.
And that was exactly the argument of the other entity that I represented, is that other towns do it. But I don't see the authority. If I'm recalling the statute right, I don't see statutory authority that authorizes staff to do it as opposed to the governing body. Just because somebody else does it doesn't make it legal.
Oh, that's true. But anyway, that's about all I had to say about it. I don't want to take up any more time, but I just like to go on record saying that I think that we don't have any problem. The ones that fit in the box just going that route, but if they're not, we don't have any problem waiting the extra time and coming to the city council on it. We appreciate your help. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate it.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I have a question for Mr. Solers. So do we go by state statute or city?
It can't be lesser. You're gonna have to go by the state statute because catering permits are the liquor is controlled by the state, and they give the authority to the cities and towns as licensing agencies. And so you're gonna have to go by what the state authorizes because they're giving you authority as the licensing entity.
Because we did a survey, again, it goes back to the issue Mr. Archer was talking about. We surveyed all the cities in the state of Wyoming, and of the ones we've got, we found 3 that it does go before the council. The rest are through administrative offices.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
Your Honor.
Yes.
I just want to bring up again, the reason I even brought this up is because of some opportunities that were out there that the catering permits did not, they didn't have the opportunity to get those. And what it boils down to for me is to have an opportunity for citizens to have a chance to have these. This weekend, again, there was 2, and I think 1 today, where they were denied. And it comes down to responsibility. Plain and simple. I got to thinking today, we advertise responsible alcohol consumption. Let's let them be responsible. Plain and simple. Here, there was an event today. Lots and lots of people there. lots of bring your own bottle. These guys are trained, they're experienced, it's their business. And the citizens want them. So let's give them that easy opportunity. The events, the last 2 events this weekend that they were unable to do were last minute, plain and simple. It's not about not being prepared. They were last minute events. Whether it's backyard or reach or the fairgrounds or whatever, I just think it's a good practice. It gives the citizens the opportunity to have a responsible option, a very responsible option, to consume alcohol at their events. And I'd just like to see the ordinance pass through. It's a good thing to do because alcohol is legal. We can't stop the use of it, so let's make them responsible. Or give them the opportunity to be more responsible. We keep telling our kids to do that, so let's let them do it. Thank you.
Your
Yes,
Honor.
Councilman Smith.
I think seeing as our legal counsel has basically advised us to table the issue until he reports back to us, that's where we need to go for tonight's discussion.
Okay. Is that a motion to table?
That is a motion to table.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to table, and so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
We have.
Yes, let's go ahead and vote on it, and then we can hear.
Oh, okay.
All those in favor of tabling the motion at this time?
Aye.
Aye. I'm sure we need a vote to table.
I don't know that we need to have a vote on tabling, but yes, go ahead.
Say your piece.
Jason Hawk, Bar 10.
I bet we know which side you're on.
I bet you do too.
No, I appreciate what you guys are doing for us, and yeah, I like where it's going, and you know, I think you guys are right. There's probably several events that we know are going to go the way that they're going to go, and we do understand that, you know, there's certain events that we need to come to the council early about. You know, times, places, things like that that might be a little bit different than usual, that aren't something that we're asking for, you know, every year from you. But, you know, like Mary Ellen said tonight, there's a lot of deals that just come up out of the blue. I mean, life happens, and our customers are just demanding as everybody else is in the marketplace, and we want to help them out, and we want, you know, our customers not to feel like they have to find other ways to do things. We want to be straightforward and help them out, and be on their side and be with them through whatever events that take place. So I hope you guys do consider it. Like I said, several towns are doing it this way, and I, for one, wouldn't have a problem if, you know, it was an event that was a little bit unusual and it needed to come to a council. I think we're all on board with that. So, thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Jason.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Just real quickly, and I'm sure Mr. Sollers will give us a full report, but just from the quick research that I've been doing, it does appear that they define licensing authority as the governing body of an incorporated city, town, or county in Wyoming with the responsibility to issue, control, and administer a particular license or the commission. And when you go to the section under special permits, which talks about catering permits or malt beverage permits, both of those say a malt beverage permit authorizing the sale of a malt beverage only may be issued by the appropriate licensing authority, and then the same language under catering permit may be issued by the appropriate licensing authority. So it doesn't appear that they can even be issued legally. Now, whether other towns are doing it, that's all good and well, but legally, if you go by the definition in state statute, licensing authority is the governing body, not the staff of the governing body.
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman.
It's also interesting the chief's point of view there, and so I think maybe we need to have some further discussion on the subject.
So. Yeah. Okay, if you could look into that, Mr. Sollers, and get back with Mr. Weaver on your findings and whatnot. That'll help. Thank you. Okay, I think there's probably a lot more discussion that we could be having on this particular issue for a while, but in the interest of moving along, the next agenda item 14, future agenda item, myself, the possibility of using solar power for generation of electricity for city use, and then Councilmember Smith allowing chickens in city limits. So I guess in as much as I'm listed first, I'll go ahead and start off there. What brought this up, I was going through the budget here a month or so ago and noticed that the amount of money that we're spending in our electrical side of the equation is huge. It's about $460,000, I think, was one figure I saw. And given the technology that's available with solar collectors and the different arrays that are available, it made sense to me. We don't have enough wind in this area to have wind generators, but we certainly have enough days of sunlight to consider that. And in as much as we've got that large of a hole in our budget bucket, it made a lot of sense to me to at least take a look at it, and then we can decide if it's appropriate for us to even consider it. And I have no idea at all. I know Mr. Urbakite is, and his staff has been doing some work in that area. It's my understanding that Ms. Wellhelm is quite an interested party as well on green energy and whatnot. So at any rate, that was my motivation, and that's what I was thinking about. And maybe Mr. Urbakite could address that for a moment and see what his staff has come up with, or what the feeling is there.
It was interesting. I saw a lot of solar installations and all. And house that I stayed at in Phoenix had solar power installation with the dual metering system, so that when they're not there and it's generating electricity, it's going back on the grid, and offsets their electric bill to where we pay very little for electricity. Dead again. Close enough. The mic's dead or something. But so there's a lot of opportunities out there. Now, what we found out, in relatively short order, I also saw a solar-powered trash compactor in Palm Beach, Florida. That was cool, and I can't wait to put one of those into place, somewhere. There's a 3-yard trash dumpster with a solar array on top of it that operated the compacting mechanism. But we have such high electrical costs, particularly in our water wells and at the wastewater treatment plant and the water plant also. But now what we found out in pretty short order in our research is that we can only put in about a 25 kilowatt facility at any one place. Although I think you can get waivers on that, is what we've kind of been indicated. They installed a lot of solar stuff as a green project over in Jackson, and we may be making a road trip and going and looking at that in the next few days. It's ski season. Might need to get over there and check it out. But we also found, the mayor and I visited with Mr. Kevin Frank from the DEQ, who is with the SRF, State Revolving Fund Program, and he indicated that there are grants available that with as much as maybe 50% principal forgiveness grant loans that if we can find some projects and make this pay off, and what you're going to want to look at is try to get things where your capital investment's paid back in 5 to 10 years. You don't want a 50-year project. That doesn't make any sense. But there's some opportunities, and we're already looking at potentially the Airport Well 2 that's up by the National Weather Service, because it is in the High Plains grid, and electricity is more expensive from High Plains than it is Rocky Mountain Power, as being a very good one to look at as a pilot project. And there's plenty of room up there to put a solar array and see what we can do. It may not pay for all the electricity, but if it even pays for half of it, as the mayor's pointed out, it's $400,000 or $500,000 a year we're spending on electricity, and we may not be able to put it in every installation, but we certainly could put it on some of the big ticket items and cut down on those costs. And we look forward to working on it. I think it's kind of an interesting challenge, and it's one of those kind of progressive type things. I'm not all about hugging trees or anything, but saving money, we're all about.
What caught my interest also was down at the sewer treatment plant. We have the old landfill right next to it that's basically a large piece of ground that we can't do anything on. We can't build anything on it. We would probably have to get a waiver from DEQ or someone if we wanted to install a collector array out there. But that would be an ideal location for it. I mean, there's no obstructions, it's just, so it just made sense to me to at least take a look at it. And even if we can cut into our electric bill for 25%, that's a large amount of money over time. And given the present administration that we have and their penchant for anything green, why not?
Well, and Mr. Mayor, I think that, whether blame it on the current administration or the next one or what down the road, but I don't think electrical costs are going down.
No, I don't think so either.
So it only makes sense. And we visited about also that, there was a real serious strain on the nation's infrastructure grid, the transmission grid, that when the economy was really rocking and rolling, they had rolling brownouts in California because they just couldn't get enough electricity and transmit it to them. Well, the recession cured that. But when the economy comes back, we're going to be right back in the same situation. And, Wyoming is so ideally located that we can produce all the different forms of energy. but solar is one of them that we certainly can take advantage of too. And you know, if we've got our own way of supporting our facilities, if it browns out in California and they have to shut the lights off at the Sierra Club, it's not going to hurt my feelings as long as we can still run our facilities. Is that an editorial?
So I guess the question is if this is something that the council would like the staff to continue pursuing and get some numbers together, and or
Fine by me.
where we go from there.
You think you need a motion for that?
I think they need some direction, so
How about a straw poll?
a straw poll works.
Sure, go ahead.
Good for me.
All right. Good.
I think I hear the whine of Al Gore's airplane.
Okay, great. All right, and then Councilman Smith, would you like to?
Sure. I think we have some illegal chickens in the city.
Okay.
So it's an attempt to correct a problem. Heard a lot of talk out there, I guess, in the last 5 or 6 months about people who have chickens and think it's legal. Our city code does not allow for it at the current time. Other people have approached me and said, hey, I'd like to have chickens, but I know we can't have chickens. So to keep it short and sweet and simple, just looking at that possibility and whether we'd want to open that up for people. I don't know really anything about chickens, so we'd really, I think, have to consult people who actually raise them to know what kind of numbers we're talking about, and no roosters, for noise issues, of course, that kind of thing, but get some guidelines from people who are actually maybe having illegal chicken farms in the city that would give us some input on how they're doing things. But so that's basically, in a nutshell, is just kind of make that a legal activity.
I was talking to one lady and asked her how she felt about it, and she says, that's why we live in town, so we don't have chickens.
There's a rooster over on Sunset, I can tell you. If you wake up at 4 in the morning, there's a rooster over there. Now, there may be some chickens along behind them.
Do we want to have another straw poll? Do we want to pursue chickens or just enforce the code we have?
Can we get a report from the sheriff?
Let's go arrest the chickens.
I don't know that I have a fully formed opinion. We have chickens at our house, and frankly, they're actually really interesting creatures that definitely have their own personalities. I have never received a single complaint of chickens in the city, so they're pretty covert, apparently. So I don't know that I have any advice for you other than I have had a couple people approach me and ask about it, and we've simply turned them down.
You're just being chicken. That was bad.
Your Honor, I was just going to say, we had a discussion earlier, and one thing I pointed out is that it doesn't take a rooster to produce an egg. And so that's, we looked at this issue when I was in Oregon, and I was initially against something that allows, because we kind of had a strict ordinance, and they were looking at trying to change it. But the way we dealt with it was on a nuisance, kind of like how we talked about with the dogs. So we didn't restrict the numbers or even the kind of animals. I think the only thing that wasn't allowed was pigs. And we dealt with it because if people were cleanly and they kept the noise down and you couldn't smell things, then it didn't matter how many you had because it wasn't bothering anybody. But if there was odor, noise, smells, then we could deal with it on that particular issue and deal with it, because we did have a rooster one time, and the second time I called the lady to say we've had complaints about it, she said, we're having him for dinner tonight.
Solve that problem.
Your Honor, just interesting enough that looking at this up on the internet, it's surprising the major cities that allow for chickens. I mean, it's a pricey little fee, but people do have chickens in large metropolitan cities. Denver being one, they have a ordinance and all that for it. So I was kind of surprised.
So
I think Casper just went through this too about less than a year ago.
Oh, really?
And it was, using the term fight might not
really
describe it quite to the way that it was. I followed that mainly through the Casper Star, and They held many open public hearings, and they ended up allowing it. And they did limit the numbers, but I know if we're looking for suggestions, City of Casper might be one way to go, so.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I've owned a herd of chickens for quite a few years. I don't have one any longer. And chickens are, just as the chief said, when they're well tended, they are not a real problem. And they're not like they threaten people and chase them down and do bodily harm. But it would be a good thing to look at. There's a number of good reasons to have your own chickens, and not just the fact that you want to disturb the neighborhood. And so, kept to reasonable numbers. I also have a parrot in my house, and so I really wouldn't appreciate any rules passed on my poor parrot. She doesn't lay eggs.
Too skinny to eat, so.
And she's way too little to eat. So I do think that there's some merit to having that, especially as a young man. I can remember Bob Knight raised pigeons and had a real fleet of pigeons, and a multitude of species, and it was quite an opportunity to go to his place. And so, you know, I think as that fits into different people's desires, I think Steve's suggestion to allow people to govern themselves as long as they don't impede on other people's rights or problems is a really good comment. And so I think that's maybe the little lady that didn't want chickens in town, you know, she has a good point also. But as long as they're not a problem, I don't see that as if people take care of them and they meet all their criteria. I think it's a wonderful idea. Thank you.
Are rabbits allowed in town? I know, I've heard some people have rabbits as well. Does anyone know? I don't.
Yes, there's a lot of rabbits in town.
Your Honor, I hate to chip in on this too, but I can go coyote hunting 30 miles out of town and not see a rabbit. And I can come back and I could shoot 6 on my own place. And so, yeah, you know, there's a ton of rabbits right downtown, you know, and so I don't know what the ordinance is. Somebody would have to help me on that. But I think there are many domestic rabbits that people have. 4-H.
Are we thinking about only in all residential zones, A on down, or only in VGA, or
Chickens are pretty tame, so I think they could go in almost any zone.
Okay. Okay. So,
Your Honor,
straw poll, here we go.
would you think about some kind of permit?
That would probably be something down the line.
You know, in other words, just say, okay, here's, you know, in order to have chickens, you have to get a permit, and then here's the rules to have chickens, and if you're not following the rules, then your permit gets revoked. But then you'd have to have a special municipal permit officer just to check up on the chickens.
Chicken.
This is a great opportunity.
This is getting out of hand.
Some real zingers. I just am holding back like crazy. But I'm not opposed to chickens. Okay.
So they would, Your Honor, they would be in all zones? Zoning, I just kind of worry, but
Your Honor, I'm not sure to answer Councilwoman Christensen. We have zones that one side of the street's B, the other side's A. So I'm not sure how we could, I mean, if you were gonna shoot, there's some sections of town where some are B and right next door is A. So I think if you're gonna do it, you're gonna have to do it in.
There has been, I haven't seen him for a year, but there's been a gorgeous peacock on Monroe. That was a resident there for 5 years. And there's not a noisier animal in the world than a peacock. And so, I think it's just how the neighborhood embraces it. And I think the chief's comment and Steve's, you know, I think we have ordinances for noise and smell and most definitely there will be people that take advantage and will have to be reminded that that's not a good neighborly way to treat things. And then I'm sure there are people that, I hate to admit this, but my daughter, her children were given a chicken in Green River, and they treated that dumb chicken like it was a dog, and they cried for days when it passed away. And they got it from a neighbor just down the street who had 6 of them that nested under the porch, front porch. So, and it was right downtown, right by the high school. So,
It sounds like you'd better spend just a little bit of time looking into that, Stephen, and see what.
Yeah, Your Honor, I was talking to Sandy a little bit about it today, and she, before we even had this, she had looked into that. So she has already done a little bit of research about what other cities have done, so.
And maybe you can bring that forward next meeting and we can decide which direction we want to go.
She wanted a chicken permit fee.
Chicken permit.
I just kind of worry about all the citizens that called us about daycare, not wanting that. I don't know, I think I'm gonna pick the daycare over chickens. I feel kind of bad for, I'm guessing.
Okay, moving right along, consent agenda. Would the city clerk please read the consent agenda items by title only?
I'd be happy to. Approval of the minutes November 20th, 2012 regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes December 3rd, 2012 Finance Committee meeting. Approval of Finance Committee recommendations for December 3rd, 2012.
Your Honor?
Yes.
It's the recommendation of the Finance Committee for the approval of claims to be paid in the amount of $169,924.78. Checks written for payroll liabilities for November 16th, 2012 and November 30th, 2012 in the amount of $333,965.51 for a total of $503,890.29.
Chair would entertain a motion regarding the consent agenda.
Your Honor, I move to approve consent as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Reports and comments, council committee reports and council members roundtable. Councilman Christensen, would you lead off, please?
Nothing to report. Thank you.
Nothing further.
I don't believe I have anything, Your Honor.
All right, moving right along.
Can
Councilman
report
Dark.
on.
The appeals board is advertised for a replacement on their board and have only received 1 applicant. So if anybody else is out there and interested in being on the appeals board, they would certainly like to hear from you at your earliest convenience. And we haven't had a airport meeting for a minute, but I'm sure that's coming.
Okay. Councilman Heiser.
Yes, Your Honor, the rec board has set the date for their annual funding proposal meeting. So any entity that is either inside or serves a majority of citizens in School District 25's boundaries and is looking for funding for recreation-minded activities needs to make sure that they have a completed set of 10 applications and are at the rec board meeting on Monday, January 14th. So that's January 14, 2013. We do that meeting each year at the School District 25 boardroom in the district's administration office right off of Main Street there. It's 121 North 5th Street West is the actual address. And that meeting starts at 6 p.m. So For those entities that are or were looking for that, that information is out there. 2 ways to get the application. You can either go through CWC's website, which is cwc.edu, and there's a little tab up there that you can click on that says Quick Links. It takes you to our recreation site. They have the information there. And then also the school district's website has this application posted as well. So for those that are interested, make sure you've got the application there, and the veterans who know how the process works. Essentially, it's first come, first heard. So I'm not telling you to show up early, but if you'd like to be one of the first ones heard, then perhaps you would want to show up a little before 6 to get your application thrown into the pile. Essentially, the apps get put face down, and as they come in, they get passed around. So January 14th is the date, and anyone with questions can contact myself or Lars Flanagan, who's the president of the board. So that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor, we've got the WHAM Winter Workshop coming up at the end of January and the first part of February. We do have a deadline coming up, otherwise the fees go up. So if you know you're going to go to that, please let us know so we can get you at least signed up and get a hotel reserved. Also, they're asking for the voting delegate. Are you attending, the mayor?
Yes.
So I'll put him down. Do we know of anybody else that's going to go for an alternate?
What were the dates?
I think it's the 30th and February 1st and 2nd or something. I think it's, yeah.
Be a good thing for him.
But we just need to put, so I'll put the mayor down as the official voting delegate, and then, okay. And then I'll put Rich down as the alternate.